presented by Auraverse, where consciousness, earth, and inner wisdom move as one. Showcase your work at auraverse.network and let your voice travel across worlds.
Before we begin, let your breath grow steady and kind, and allow a quiet brightness to gather in the center of your awareness, as if a lamp long hidden were being uncovered rather than lit. Welcome. I am C.S. Douglas, and this is Codex Æternum, the Rational Bible, a journey through the hidden architecture of power and the living conscience of the universe.
This program is endorsed by Authorpedia, the world's only encyclopedia exclusively dedicated to authors, a living archive where writers and thinkers are immortalized through literature. Visit authorpedia.org and become part of our enduring legacy.
In Book 6, The Sages, we now enter Episode 90, The Buddha and the Path of the Inner Light. In ancient India, beneath the broad leaves of a fig tree beside the river Neranjara, a man who had searched the world for answers to suffering sat down and stopped searching. His name was Siddhartha Gautama. He had walked away from a life of comfort, tested himself with severe austerities, questioned teachers and philosophies, and found each extreme unsatisfying. So he chose a middle way, neither indulgence nor self-punishment, but a clear, steady look into the nature of his own mind. There, under what would come to be called the Bodhi tree, he discovered something that had never truly been absent, a luminous awareness, capable of seeing suffering, its causes, and the way beyond it without turning away. Later generations gave many names to this discovery: nirvana, awakening, enlightenment. But at its heart is what we might call the inner light, a clarity and compassion that belong to the very structure of consciousness itself. The Buddha's first message is that this inner light is not his private possession. It is not granted from outside by a god or a guru. It is present in every being, as surely as fire is present in flint. It may be covered by habit, by fear, by confusion, but it is never absent. The path, then, is not about importing holiness from somewhere else. It is about removing what hides the radiance that is already here. He looked carefully at what obscures this light, and saw three recurring patterns, which he called the three poisons: greed, hatred, and ignorance. Greed grasps at experience and says, "This must be mine, and it must stay." Hatred pushes experience away and says, "This must not be, and I will destroy it." Ignorance fails to see that both the grasping and the pushing are built on a misunderstanding of what we and the world actually are. Together, these poisons spin the wheel of samsara, the cycle of dissatisfaction in which we cling, resist, and are repeatedly disappointed. To respond to this, the Buddha crafted a simple, profound framework: the Four Noble Truths. First, he says, recognize dukkha, suffering, or more precisely, the unease that runs through even our pleasant experiences. Everything changes, what we love passes, what we fear eventually arrives. To see this clearly is not pessimism, it is honesty. Second, he points to the origin of suffering: craving and attachment. We do not suffer merely because things are impermanent. We suffer because we demand that the impermanent behave as if it were permanent. We cling to identities, possessions, opinions, and roles, and we take their inevitable shifting as a personal insult. Third, he offers a liberating truth: because suffering has a cause, it can cease. If craving and ignorance are conditions, they can be weakened, and in some deep sense let go of entirely. When this happens, the inner light is no longer muffled. It stands revealed as a peace that does not depend on circumstances. Fourth, he lays out a path for realizing this cessation, the noble Eightfold path. This path is not a ladder you climb once and leave behind, but a set of 8 supports you cultivate together, like the spokes of a wheel that turns more smoothly as each is strengthened. The first two supports belong to wisdom. Right understanding means seeing reality as it actually operates, recognizing impermanence, interdependence, and the way clinging produces pain. It includes a living grasp of the Four Noble Truths, not as doctrines to recite, but as patterns you can observe in your own life. Right intent is the quiet decision to orient your heart toward non-harm and awakening. It is the intention to respond with kindness rather than cruelty, to let go rather than clutch, to investigate rather than avoid. Intent shapes the direction of your energy. When it points toward truth and compassion, the inner light has a clear path through which to shine. The next three supports concern ethical living. Right speech invites you to use language as an instrument of clarity and care, to speak what is true, timely and beneficial, and to refrain from lies, slander, and needless harshness. Words can either thicken the fog or help it lift. Right action is conduct that does not create suffering, refraining from violence, from taking what is not given, from abuse of intimacy, and from actions that betray trust. Each time you choose such restraint, you simplify your karma, your web of consequences, making the mind lighter and more transparent. Right livelihood extends ethics to the way you sustain yourself. It suggests work that does not rely on deception or harm, that does not feed addiction, exploitation, or destruction of life. When how you earn your living aligns with your values, there is less inner conflict, and meditation becomes less a temporary refuge and more a natural expression of how you stand in the world. The final three spokes cultivate mental discipline. Right effort is the art of applying energy neither too tightly nor too loosely. It means gently abandoning unwholesome states when they arise, preventing them when possible, and nurturing wholesome states like kindness, patience, and clarity whenever you can. It is effort guided by wisdom, not by self-violence. Right mindfulness is the steady, non-judging awareness of body, feelings, mind, and patterns of experience. It is being present for your own life as it unfolds, without immediately grasping, resisting, or editing what appears. In mindfulness, you see cravings and fears arise and pass like weather in the sky. You begin to notice that the inner light, this knowing itself, remains untouched, even as storms of thought and emotion move through it. Right concentration develops deep states of collectedness, where attention becomes unified and calm. In such stillness, the usual noise that dominates the mind grows quiet, and subtler truths can be seen. The way experiences flicker in and out of being, the way the sense of I is built from shifting sensations and stories. Here, many practitioners taste directly the luminous, open quality of awareness the Buddha pointed to. Throughout all of this, the Buddha returns again and again to compassion. As the inner light becomes clearer, it does not turn away from the world. It responds more tenderly to it. Seeing that all beings are caught in variations of the same struggle, seeking happiness, fearing pain, confused about what will truly satisfy, the awakened heart naturally wishes for their freedom as well as its own. This wish blossoms as karuna, the active desire to alleviate suffering, and as metta, loving kindness that extends to friends, strangers, and even enemies. In this way, the path to enlightenment is not a staircase into some private heaven. It is a widening circle in which your own liberation and the well-being of others become inseparable. The more clearly you see that your identity is not confined to a narrow, isolated self, the more natural it feels to act for the benefit of all. The Buddha insists that none of this requires blind belief. He invites you to test the teachings as you would test gold, by cutting, rubbing, burning, in this case, by applying them to your own experience. Do mindfulness ethical conduct, and the cultivation of wisdom and compassion reduce suffering? Do they bring more clarity, courage, and peace? If they do, then the inner light is not a metaphor. It is an observable reality. So the path he offers is at once demanding and gentle. Demanding because it asks for honesty, perseverance, and a willingness to meet your own mind without disguise. Gentle because at every step it reminds you that your deepest nature is already oriented toward awakening. You are not trying to create something alien to yourself. You are allowing what is truest in you to become conscious and stable. Carry this revelation as a quiet confidence. In each moment of your life, no matter how tangled or heavy it seems, you retain the capacity to take one step along this path. To choose a kinder word, a clearer intention, a more present breath, a few minutes of stillness in which the inner light can be felt again. Each such step is already a taste of freedom. In our next episode, we return to ancient Greece into the company of a thinker who gazed beyond the shifting world of appearances toward a realm of pure, unchanging meaning. There we meet Plato, who speaks of the realm of forms and the soul's ascent from the shadows of ignorance into a light no longer cast by the senses, but by truth itself. We will explore how this journey from cave to sunlight echoes the same longing for awakening, and how the search for justice, beauty, and goodness becomes a philosophical path to the real. Our next sponsor is Everly Books Publishing Group, a traditional independent press serving both new and established writers. Everly Books welcomes unsolicited manuscripts submitted directly through everlybooks.org.